Hello and welcome to our first YouTube or live YouTube video of Retro Gaming Revival. I'm Ryan, one of the admins on the page who you'll probably know from the Monday Night Wars. And I'll be hosting this evening and trying to keep everything running smoothly. If you're watching live, thanks for joining us for the next hour as we talk all things retro games. Please keep your questions coming in the comments below and we'll try and get through them all over the course of the next hour. Can I just ask that you please be kind? This is the first time any of us have ever done anything like this before. So there'll probably be some technical issues along the way. So I apologise for that now, but we'll try and keep them to a minimum. Well, that's all the formalities over. So let's get to the questions and find out a bit about who we have here this evening. So let's start with question one, and we'll go straight to the man who started it all, Neil. So if you introduce yourself, tell us why you set up the group and also what your first video game console was.
Yeah, well, I'm Neil. I'm one of the admins on the group and the group creator. And basically, I set up the group because I love everything retro games, especially cartridge-based consoles. So why I wanted to set up the group was basically just like-minded people like yourselves out there share about retro gaming, your experiences and what you like, what you don't like. And also I wanted to set up the group because I wanted to basically I could join other groups out there. There's lots of retro groups on Facebook, but I wanted to have some kind of control of the content that was posted, which leads to the second point why I created the group. Was basically, I mean, I was in the Evercade official group and non-official group, and I was posting about certain concerns about the console, and they were being deleted. I was commenting, and they were being deleted, and then I was removed from both groups. So I basically wanted my own group, so I could share my concerns about Evercade, along with positives as well with Evercade, without them being removed. So yeah, that's basically it, really.
Okay, cheers, Neil. And if you let us know what your first video game console was as well.
First console. This bad boy. SNES. I mean, I grew up with Master System and the original NES, but I never really owned them. There was always my friends' consoles. I got around the houses and play with them. But the SNES was the first console I bought for myself, and I think it's probably the best retro console to this day.
Okay, nice. Cheers, Neil. So if we move on to the man next to you, well, as I'm looking next to you, Ollie Barnett, or Nintendo Ollie, as he is on here.
Hey.
Just introduce yourself and tell us a bit about the first game console that you owned.
Sure. So I'm Ollie. I'm one of the moderators. I came on board, I think, just because there was a lot of people joining the group quite quickly. And it's just good to have a couple of extra people there keeping an eye on the content, making sure everyone's being friendly, not being nasty. And like you guys, I like video games in general, modern and old, but I have a real soft spot for old games. Much like Neil, I really like collecting cartridge-based retro stuff. It's kind of difficult because I really like complete in box, which just makes life so much harder. But that being said, I just really enjoy classic gaming. First games console I ever owned was the NES. One of my friends had it, and my parents sort of saw that I was really enjoying it when we were over at their house. So probably the best day of my life, even as an adult, this includes having 3 kids, was the day that we went and picked up the NES and then went for Pizza Hut afterwards. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that, really.
That's great story, Ollie. Cheers for share that with us. I'm sure we've all experienced that feeling in the past. So if we move on to OEB Dorbs, okay, so if you just introduce yourself and let us know the first game console that you had.
Yep. Evening, everyone. I'm OEB Dorbs. My first console, I class it as a console, but others may not, was the Commodore 64. I first played it around my cousin's. He actually had one. And we played Blue Max. I don't know if anyone remembers that game. Blue Max, really good game. And yeah, shortly thereafter, I managed to obtain one, or rather, it was bought for me. So yeah, that was my first console, the old classic Commodore 64. And I can't remember what I had for dinner after fish and chips. I can't remember what we had.
Cool. Cheers, Ben. So if we now go on to the other Ollie, just to get confusing. So if you just give a brief introduction to yourself and the first game console that you owned.
Right, I'm Ollie. I'm also a mod. I also mainly do the night mods. So anyways, I'm pretty much up most hours of the night. So I'm the one who's putting people's posts on at night. But I basically got into the group with Ryan. I've known Ryan for years. He knows I'm an absolute video game nerd. I've got a Nintendo man. I've got pretty much nearly every Nintendo console going. Virtual Boy was a bit of a nightmare to get hold of, but yeah, my first ever system was the NES. I remember getting it for Christmas. It wasn't just mine because it's so expensive. It was mine and my two brothers, so it was fights constantly. When we used to play Duck Hunt, I used to give my brother the control pad, plug it in with controller 2, so he thought he was controlling. Well, he said he was controlling ducks, which I found out was actually real. But I didn't know that. And I know what I had for dinner that night because it was Christmas dinner. So I can join you on that one, Ollie. So yeah, that's basically my story.
Cool. So just a bit about me then. I'm Ryan 7-0, because that's how many Monday Night Wars we've won now. I'm an admin on Retrogaming Revival, which I was invited to be part of by Neil following our becoming friends on another site. And the first game console I owned was a NES as well, with Duck Hunt and Super Mario 1. I think I got it for my 7th birthday after playing at a friend's house. And yeah, I just couldn't believe it. The only downside was I didn't have a TV in my room, so had to be in my sister's room, which was a bit of a pain in the backside because she would always pretend to be watching something, so I couldn't play on my NES. But after a few tantrums, that was soon rectified, and my parents got me a TV. Okay, so
amazing.
Cool. So that's just a brief intro to ourselves there. Okay, so the next question we've got is favorite retro video game. So Neil, did you have a favorite game?
You see that?
We can. Super
Nice.
Mario.
The original Mario Kart. It's still relevant to this day. Brilliant game, and I've recently been trying to go back through the books again with little success. It seemed to be much easier playing it back in the day than it does now. In other words, because I've got old, maybe. But yeah, Super Mario Kart on the SNES, best console, one of the best games ever made, in my opinion. Yep, and that's what I'm trying to work with at the minute.
It's pretty hard to dispute any of that.
Mario Kart SNES is still massively playable today, isn't it? Anyone could pick that game up and play it for hours and not get bored of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. So Nintendo Ollie, as you are on here, do you want to let us know what your favourite retro game is?
Yeah. So I mean, I presume it's classed as we've had this chat, haven't we, about what's classed as retro now. So I'm presuming PS1 is going to be retro now. So my favorite game of all time is Final Fantasy VII, the original Final Fantasy VII. The remake was really good, but that original game for me is something really special. I think that was one of the first times I invested hundreds of hours into a video game. It was possibly one of the first times I'd ever spent that long doing something and just having this really engaging story with characters that I'd fallen in love with and just really liked being around. And it came on 3 discs, which was that was pretty epic. You open it up, 3 discs. Oh my god, this is going to be insane! And I think I've played that game to death. It's still my favorite game of all time now. and yeah, it's just also happens to be a retro game as well. Followed closely by Mario 64. I will chuck that in there.
Cool. I've never played Mario 64. Never played it.
Oh,
No
dude.
way. Are you
Unbelievable.
serious?
Nope. Never played it. I can't do Mario 3D games. I can do 2D Mario,
Pick
but
up the
Mario
3D.
3D.
Pick up the 3D All Stars for your Switch. It's fantastic.
Before it goes,
All they've done is just made it HD. It's still got all the little glitches and bits and bobs that were in it. It's just fantastic. It's such a good game.
See, Mario for me would be Super Mario 3. I always think that's the game. Just because of the leap from having Mario 1 where you can even go backwards, and then you've got Super Mario 3, which was, yeah, it was just ridiculous.
Yeah, that's hard to dispute that as well. That's that. Yeah, if you were to say Mario 3 is your favorite game of all time, I'd say it's a bloody good game.
I was playing it on the RG 3.
We've got a question.
A few weeks back. Classic, absolute classic.
Sorry, Daubs, I talked over you there.
Normal, mate. That's normal. It's all right.
Introduce good, Cameron.
And I'm just saying, I played Mario 3 on the RG 351P a few weeks back. Absolute classic. Brilliant game.
We have had a question come in for Nintendo actually, so I'll put this to you.
Go on then, son.
Can you see that?
Yeah. How many times did you complete the original Final Fantasy VII? I reckon I've done everything in the game properly twice, and then completed the game, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 times, mainly because it was always an investment. To do it just straight the way through without doing everything in it was, I don't know, I think you could probably do it quite happily in 30 hours. I'm sure people have done it sooner. But yeah, to do everything, defeat all the weapons, get all of the limit breaks, everything, that can be hundreds of hours. So I've only done it through everything properly twice, but I'd say maybe 5 or 6 times in total.
Wow, I have played Final Fantasy VII, and the furthest I've ever got on it is when you get to those like emu things.
Yeah, the chocobos.
That's it, yeah. And I couldn't do that bit, so I gave up on it. But
Amazing.
I always remember you could name the characters, couldn't you? So I named them after all my friends at school, and I think one of them might have died, and I was like devastated. But yeah, it is a cool game. It's one that I would need to go back to, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we go OEB Dorbs, you let us know what your favourite retro game is.
Oh, well, there's so many to choose from. Ghostbusters on the Commodore 64 was amazing, really good. As was Spy Hunter. I love that game. Paperboy as well. That was a
Yars
classic.
Revenge.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't play that. Even if you paid me, I wouldn't play that garbage. On the Amiga, what did I play on that? KGB. That was always a really good game. Probably ahead of its time. Obviously, the classic Sensible World of Soccer, which is actually behind me there. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go for Sensible World of Soccer. It's just a great game. The management mode was fantastic.
It was phenomenal, wasn't it?
Amazing.
The database on that game was just massive. And the game itself is brilliant. And any other version of Sensi is so less superior to Sensible World of Soccer. You know, like the console versions have never lived up to that Amiga Sensible World of Soccer.
No. Definitely
Okay.
not.
So, Ollie, your favourite retro game?
Well, it's kind of a hard one, really. This one's up there, if you can see it. That one's up there. But for me, we were playing it the other night, actually, and had all my family taking turns, and that is Mario Brothers 1 on the NES. I've also shoes. I don't know if you can see them. Where's my camera?
Nice.
They got a Bowser in the middle.
I was actually looking at buying those. I was looking
That
at
is
buying
amazing.
them.
And on the other shoe, you got. That
is fantastic.
Yeah,
Wow.
they got like a little
That's cool.
little control pad that hangs off it. But yeah, they're amazing. We were literally playing it the other day. Me, my 5-year-old, my wife, my son, who's 9 or 8, and it was funny because I blew their mind when I jumped over the top and then opened up the water bottles of all the other networks. And they were like, "Wow, you could go up the top!" So yeah, it was... I also got the Switch. I got the Switch NES controller just so we could play it properly.
Oh, brilliant.
You can't beat this old school controller. Love it.
My
Yeah,
my version of the NES controller has like a set of bite marks along the top. I remember getting really frustrated with Ninja Turtles when I had that, and I bit my controller so hard, and I've still got that controller now with these like little bite ridges across the top. Devastating.
You still got your teeth?
Yeah, just.
Well, that's proper some game rage. That is biting the controller.
Proper. Ah!
Cool. So my favourite retro game is probably going to be no surprise to anyone. It is a wrestling game, and I have to say it's probably SmackDown 2 on the PlayStation 1. Put hours and hours and hours into that game. Created all my friends on it. So I had a roster of people I went to college with, and yeah, it was just brilliant. And that game compared to the wrestling games that were before, the step up was just massive. I don't know if any of you guys played it. I know Neil and Nent and Ollie aren't particularly wrestling fans. But I don't know if
amazing that game. Remember to step up from like the games that you were having like on the Xbox, I think were bad, and then the SmackDown came out and the PlayStation. It was amazing. Literally, like the whole way you could go through the moves set. I remember my mate at school literally changed every single player, every single character's name to like people at school. He also done that because No Mercy on the N64 was quite good as well, wasn't it?
Do you know? I think one of the only wrestling games I've ever owned was I can't think which one it was on the N64. It was WCW versus NWO.
Yeah,
I'm not sure because there was. I think there was two. Was there two of those games?
Yeah, there was World Tour. Then there was WCW versus
Revenge.
NWO.
Yeah, it's Revenge. Yeah.
It's I think it's the one that's got Hulk Hogan on the front, but opposite someone else. It's like a purple box or slightly purplish box. I think. I can't remember. Either way, that was one of the only wrestling games I ever played, but they are great fun.
Yeah, Warzone was amazing. New Power. It was absolutely phenomenal game. That was.
My main memory of Warzone was you'll create a wrestler and the crowd would chant "Player 1, Player 1." That's my main memory of that game.
Is that one of the videos where I challenged you?
Yes.
Sure it is. Yeah, that's Ahmed Johnson. Oh, you couldn't understand at all what he was saying.
And the two ECW games that preceded it, which was supposed to be groundbreaking, were just basically the exact same game engine, just with ECW wrestlers in it, and a few different.
I'm sure it was the Acclaim engine that was them.
Yeah, it was.
Playing games, and then THQ left, and I think they left WCW lot and went to WWF. And then they brought out the WWF games on the N64, and the one I managed to get the one that was day one. I think it was No Mercy with a groundbreaking glitch that would wipe all your save data and everything when you got to a certain point in the game.
Oh man, that's
gutted.
Back then there was no like internet to be able to update over the internet. Apparently, I found out later that people could actually trade them in and get the newer version once they changed it all. But
you lot might be talking a foreign language when it comes to wrestling games. No idea about them at all.
But you've all got to get Retromania when it's released. The next month or so.
Yeah, you were talking about that new one earlier, wasn't you? Yeah.
Because it looks awesome. It's like a 16-bit or 8-bit arcade-style wrestling game that they've made, which does look really, really good. So yeah, if any of you do download, well, I would recommend downloading it. I think it is a really good game. And we've got a question here that's just come in from New Power. Are any of you fans of Sonic?
Yeah.
I think everyone's got to be a fan of Sonic, haven't you?
Everyone's been a fan of Sonic at some point. I mean, everyone's got to have played a Sonic game at some point. Even if you don't like him, you've probably played Sonic game. Yeah,
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Master System.
The Sonic Mania games are really good. That they really liked. They were very good.
Yeah,
Rather
really
fun.
surprising actually how good that was.
Yeah, I don't know if they weren't making another one, but I have got Sonic. Yeah, I'm saying I've got Sonic 1 to 3 on the Mega Drive.
Pretty much all of my Mega Drive stuff is in the loft at the moment. It's having the third Bibbit enter my world has meant I've relinquished any room space that I did have for earmarked for a game room. But so yeah, it's all in the loft, unfortunately.
Oh, the only Sega device I've ever owned is the Sega Mega Drive that came with Sonic 1 and 2. So and I think I had Sonic Advance on the Game Boy Advance. But that's the only Sonic games I've ever played. I've never sort of progressed past those really early ones.
We used to rent a Mega Drive from our local video shop because I had Nintendo games as a kid, so I never really. Any time I played Mega Drive was going over to my mate Rich's house. So he'd play Mega Drive at his house and Nintendo at mine. But we used to rent a Mega Drive and Sonic 2 sort of like once a month from the local video shop. So I didn't actually have a Mega Drive until I started working and getting a paycheck, and you're like all of a sudden you're like, oh, I can buy a Mega Drive now.
Can we just rewind a second? You rented a Mega Drive. I've heard about like renting a game. Our local video shop was called Video Solent, which went bust decades ago. But yeah, one of the things that they brought in was you could rent a Super Nintendo or rent a Sega Mega Drive, and I think it was £2 for the weekend, which was just mind blowing. Mind blowing.
To do that at some point. Didn't Blockbuster to rent out consoles?
I think they did. Yeah.
They did the basically they've done the Virtual Boy, because when I was looking into buy a Virtual Boy, to get the Blockbuster Virtual Boy case in the States is like rocking or shit. I'm telling you, it's really hard to get hold of over here. And that's one of the reasons why my brother used to work there for about 10 years. So I used to get 10 free rents a week. So I used to be able to just rinse everything. That's one of the reasons I know that they do rent out consoles back in the day.
So, Nintendo, how much would that cost you to rent a console?
I think it was like £2 for the weekend, but you could pick it up Friday night, and it had to be back Sunday afternoon by like, I don't know, 1 o'clock in the afternoon or something. And then it was like 50p for every game that they had. And I think they only had like 6 or 7 games in the entirety for the time that they did this offer. But it was Sonic 2, Batman Returns, Streets of Rage 2. I can't remember the other two, but I just used to rent Sonic 2 and Batman Returns just constantly.
How do they ever make their money back?
This is like 92.
That's what it was.
25, 30 years ago, £2 back then.
Yeah, it's like a 90s £2.
I remember when I found out. Remember when they found out the Americans called it Genesis? I was like, what?
Yeah.
What is that about? Completely different name. Sega Genesis. Didn't even know what that was.
Yeah, the Americans had everything different though. It was their Mega Drive was a Genesis, but I think it was Mega Drive everywhere else. And their Super Nintendo looked weird, and yet the Super Nintendo and Super Famicom all around the world just looked the same, apart from the Americans, which looked like that big blocky.
I really want the American one.
Super Nintendo. The looks,
I want the
style.
American one. I want it. I'm going to get one of the American ones. They're just so ugly.
The American one is cool just because it's just so weird.
Yeah, they've also got there is a Super Nintendo Junior released, a Super Famicom Junior.
Yes.
We never got over here.
No.
That's another thing I'm trying to get hold of as well. They're
Yeah.
a lot smaller.
I saw Elliot on Retro Future did a cleanup of one, and it just immediately was like, oh Christ, I need to add that to the list of things that I would quite like to have now.
If you talk to the Yanks about their Super Nintendo, even the Yanks say themselves that this was better than the one they had. And Hyperkin, that's an American company, even stole theirs off of the European and Japanese Nintendo. So
that's cool.
You've got some nice stuff there.
My brother lives there. He's gonna.
Any console we mentioned, Neil's just pulling it out from underneath the table like a magician.
It's like a mini library there, dude. It's so good.
Well, this
Hey, Neil,
next
do you,
question.
Neil, would you consider renting those consoles out to us?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it'd be more than £2 for a weekend, I think.
Cost more to post it, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I love retro. Fan of the group.
Beauty, mate.
Oh,
We're a
that's
fan
cool.
of you.
Yeah, nice of you to join us. Okay, well, this next question, we'll start with Neil, because he's probably going to pull out about 50 devices. So, we've only got 35 minutes left. So, what retro device are you currently playing at the moment? So, if we start with retro or something that plays retro games.
Like I said, this is what I'm playing at the moment. Basically, so I can play it on the HD TV. It's not bad at all. Clown console, it's not bad. Does its job. It's not perfect. It's not an analog, but does the job. But yeah, the minute I'm trying to build up my Super Nintendo library, playing with Mario Kart, Donkey Kong, yeah, all the games I used to play as a kid. Trying to buy the ones, not necessarily the popular ones at the time, but specifically the ones that I used to play. I mean, there's one that I bought recently that I used to play all the time, is Harley's Humongous Adventure, which is probably nobody ever knows about. But back in 1992, 93, I played it for hours and hours in the bedroom. But you're probably thinking, what? Who? Harley who? But
Has
yeah,
anyone heard of this game?
I can't say I have.
basically, it's about, from what I can remember, a character that's shrunk down to about, a centimetre, and he's going through his house. Everything's massive. There's, spiders, cockroaches, and like he's jumping over cotton reels that look like the size of a house. And he's basically got to get back to his invention that has shrank him down accidentally to try and get back to normal size. But like, I've probably never heard of it, but it's quite an enjoyable game to play.
Cool. We'll have to check it out. You have to share it on the page, and
Well,
we're all looking.
You'll probably think it's rubbish, but it's what I grew up playing.
Okay, well, share it on the page, and
Yeah.
But then
we
tell me it's
will,
rubbish.
and then we could. sorry,
You
Dorbs.
can all take the mic. Yeah, I know.
What's this rubbish?
Yeah. What is this rubbish? Yeah.
Well, if we go to Dorbs next, because he's what retro device are you playing at the moment, or retro console?
I recently acquired a Vita. I've never had one before, so I sold one console and bought a Vita on eBay for, I think, about 70 quid. And at the minute, I'm trying to get the platinum on Need for Speed on that one. I can't remember what Need for Speed Hot Pursuit or something, I think it's called. So yeah, I'm playing that one at the minute. I did get the platinum on Uncharted Golden Abyss on the Vita
Great game.
a couple of months back. A brilliant game. On the Vita, it's unbelievable. But yeah, just going through Need for Speed, and then once I've done that one, I've got the Batman one. I've got Spy Hunter as well, and I've got a couple of others, but I can't remember what they are. So yeah, hopefully I can get the platinum in due course. Probably about 2 years actually, but never mind.
Cool. Do we class Vita as retro? Are we allowing him that, or?
Yeah.
It's a great
Yeah.
system. They don't make it anymore. Or
Exactly.
very few companies. I think only Limited Run are the ones that are still pumping out content for it. So
It's really good. If you can get one. So
it is
pick up
amazing.
reasonably cheap.
Have you got the
Reasonably
first
cheap.
gen? Have you got the first gen or the second one?
Second.
Yeah, I've got the
Oh.
first one. Well,
Same.
a bit bulkier, it's not a slim one.
Yeah, I've got the first gen.
In Japan, they released the blue version of it, I think.
So Sony do need to bring out another handheld, 100%.
I don't reckon they will. I reckon they tap their foot in it with the
They
Vita,
won't
which is
support it, will they?
no, and it's a real shame because the Vita is amazing. It's so good, but I just don't think people were willing to part with 250 quid for it, whereas something like the 3DS, which is a decade old now, and they're still pumping out games for it, and people are still buying them brand new as well. It's a strange market.
You can pick up some games on eBay reasonably cheap.
Yeah.
And obviously charity shops when they're open as well.
Can't wait. Bit of game hunting in.
Yeah. Always do. Always walk in there, have a good look around.
Game hunting in Oxfam.
Yeah.
Cool. So Nintendo Lee, what retro device are you currently playing?
So for me, and this came about from the group as well. One of my mates, Simon Hammond's in the group, he picked this up after you guys all picked it up as well. So that's the RGB 35 1P. That is my retro go-to at the moment. It's massively convenient having everything on a handheld device. It's emulation, which is not ideal, especially if you're someone that likes to have the hardware, but at the same time I'm still just some of those games are so expensive now that if you wanted to be able to play them on the original hardware, £200-300 for a cart only game, it's just not feasible at the moment at all. So that system for me is the go-to. But saying that, I think the Nintendo Switch does a huge amount of retro at the moment. Certainly with things like Mario 3D All Stars, with Mario 64's retro. Not entirely sure. Sunshine, I guess you could count as retro. And then they've got all the Turok games out on it as well. So we've got Turok 2, which came in this insane N64 styled box as well, which is for a collector is amazing. So yeah, the RG35 1P and Nintendo Switch are probably my go-to retro things at the moment.
Cool. Cheers, Ollie. So if we go on to Ollie.
Well, yeah, recently we weren't just playing, main one I bought is the 351M, the metal version. Absolutely love the 351P. Ended up going for this just because it's got the Wi-Fi built in, really nice, real good weight to it, really heavy. I was in talks with Russ from Retrogaming about it as well, because he had got his before mine. One stuck in customs for 3 weeks. But my RG 351P, 85 quid. So in theory, it cost me tenner. So and that's mainly the reason I upgraded, because I love the other one so much, is that I thought I'll upgrade to this one just for the Wi-Fi really built in, because having that massive thing sticking out the top was starting to annoy me a bit. And I've recently just completed Metroid Fusion on the Game Boy Advance on it recently. But yeah, absolutely amazing device, and it was mainly down to you guys as well that I got this. So I was doing an iron about it, and then once you buy it, you just fall in love with the thing. It's got everything on it. So good, such a good little bit of kit you can just pull out whenever.
Yeah,
cool.
It's really surprising how good it is. I remember Ryan bringing it to work one day and being like, "This is really good," and it wasn't until he fired it up, you're like, "Oh shit, it is pretty good, isn't it?"
It is a great handheld, which is the retro device I'm using at the moment as well. What I would say though about the RG351, it's not built for long gameplay. I don't think it becomes a bit uncomfortable after a while. But it's good to pick up. I like playing games like Super Sidekicks on the Neo Geo football game. That's pretty awesome. So I like playing now, like playing WrestleFest as well. And they're games that you can just pick up and play easy. But I couldn't sit there and play something like Final Fantasy VII on the RG351P, or a game that's going to take a long time to play.
You can get the grips for it, can't you? People are doing the 3D printed grips, like in the shape of a PS3 or PS4 controller. That the 351P just slots into it, and it makes it a lot more comfortable in the hand to hold over a long period. So maybe
Have you got that?
I haven't got it now. I've seen people that have been selling them on other Facebook groups, and people are saying that they are comfortable for a long period. So, well, if you want to be playing your 351 for 4 hours a day, maybe that's the route to go. Get yourself a grip. They're relatively cheap.
I expected you to pull one out from underneath your table then and be like,
no,
okay,
sorry, I haven't got one lying around. Sorry.
Cool. So we've got a question that's come in as well from I Love Retro. What feature do you think your favourite retro console needed to make it that extra special?
Ooh.
Wireless controllers?
Yeah.
Possibly.
Potentially. I think licensed cartridges would work for me. If that RG
wireless controller, there you go.
He's already there.
You must admit, though, I remember when I first got Nintendo's Wavebird GameCube wireless controller. It was amazing. It literally just the fact that you could just you haven't got to worry about that cable pulling out. Do you know what I mean? Like, so much difference. For me,
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah, I also think that the Nintendo 64, when they brought out the Rumble pack, expansion pack, that was a game changer. Feeling the game in your hand, literally feeling the game in your hand was, for the first time ever.
Lilac Walls that came with, didn't it?
Yeah, in the big box.
Yeah, in a massive box. Yeah, I remember when I got it. I think I still got it somewhere.
I've been frantically in the loft over the last couple of weekends trying to, in the house move from my last house to this house, I've managed to get box protectors for all of my N64 and Super Nintendo games, but I would really like to get one of the big box protectors for Lilac Wars, but trying to find that box at the moment is just, I'm genuinely stressed about it, because it's like you think, oh man, that's it, and it was a nice condition box as well, and you look on eBay just on the off chance, like no chance.
I need one for my, I've got Zelda 1 and 2 NES boxed out in the loft, and I need to get, I'm sure I've got them boxed, and I've got all the rare N64 games as well, and that Conker's Bad Fur Day. I've literally just picked up Paper Mario GameCube one, which goes for crazy money, like 120, 130 quid at minute. I managed to just get the disc for about, I think it was about 50, but I've now got to try and get a proper casing from it.
GameCube games are going through the roof at the moment.
Unbelievable. Love that console anyway. I want to get the Japanese one. Have you seen that? Panasonic.
Is that the silver one? Is that the silver one that's like the DVD player and?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nuts. It is nuts.
About 500 on it.
I've got crazy.
Broken and just do it up.
I've got 4 mini consoles and an RG351P, and then you guys are going out buying Japanese GameCubes.
That's what I want. I want just to look at it, mate. Have you seen it? It's amazing.
It is a thing of beauty.
I'm
going to look it up now.
It's shiny.
It is. It genuinely looks like, if you were to say, "Oh, this is an early Apple computer," like it would look. It could pass for that. It's a real thing of beauty.
Proper DVD drive. And obviously, with the mini discs, it had a small little disc in there, so you could fit in your GameCube disc.
Yeah, no, it is
nuts. Like a hi-fi system.
Yeah, because it's done by Panasonic. Yeah.
Very cool. Okay, well, let's go on to the next question, which will probably raise quite a lot of debate. Thoughts on the Evercade? So I won't pick on anyone individually. I know myself, Neil, and OEB Dorbs were Evercade owners. I say owners. We sold the device. What would I say about the Evercade? I was hyped for it when I received it. I thought, this is a cool idea. Cartridges, instruction manuals. I wasn't a fan of all the games, to be honest. Some of the Atari games, I think, aren't brilliant and they're not particularly playable, but I forgave them for that because I thought, you've got Earthworm Jim, Clay Fighters. I know not great, but it's an okay game. And there were Mega Cat Studios, I thought was a decent addition. and a Pico collection. However, I don't know. I just felt the device lacked something. I don't know if Neil and Dorbs want to jump in here and just sort of give their thoughts on the device.
Oh, well, I thought the idea of it initially was brilliant. Someone bringing out a new handheld that took physical cartridges. The idea, was really exciting. But like you, when I got it in the hand, I could see that it wasn't the build quality that I was expecting. And with the handheld, the screen, you've got to get the screen right on a handheld. And I think to keep budget down, just think they went with a screen that was just too low quality for what was needed, to make the console shine. The games, like you, I wasn't really interested in the Atari games. I can't remember what cartridge it was, but I think it was one that was with new retro games. I think Tanza was on it.
Mega Cat Studios, yeah. Old Towers, yeah.
Yeah, I love that cartridge. But overall, I think it was a good idea, but I think it was just poorly executed. It's just, if it was better quality, I would have paid twice the price for a better quality device. Happily paid twice the price. But yeah, I think they tried to keep it within the budget, and keeping it within that budget, unfortunately, let it down, I think.
What about you, Dorbs? The same?
How long's left?
18 minutes.
Okay, obviously these are my opinions, not necessarily, they don't match necessarily what Retro Game Revival think. Yeah, I know, Ryan, we were buzzing for it, weren't we? We have chats every day about it, really looking forward to it. When it arrived, because I got the all-in-one pack like you two did.
Yeah, the 10 cartridge.
180 quid.
160, which
good price. So yeah, it arrived, and I remember I was videoing you at the time when I was trying to put the cartridge in, and I just couldn't get it out. It was just wedged in there. I know you had the viewing angles, Neil. They didn't really bother me because I always play it like that anyway, so it didn't really bother me. But I will say on the positives, it felt really good in the hand. It felt quite comfortable. It was quite cheap. When you think the pack, I can't remember which one it is, the starter pack or whatever it is, it's 80 quid, and it comes with 3 cartridges, which are 15 quid each. So it costs 35 quid. So in theory, it's not too bad. But even with that money you spent, you still think it should be a bit better. I know there's issues with it. Fair enough. Totally understand that. But what really got me is when I was playing Side Pocket, and I got to level 2, and it just kept on repeating. I got the score to go through to the next stage, and then it will go back to the start of level 2, and it's just on a never-ending loop. And that's why I was a bit near. And then what also annoyed me is that we paid 160 quid, whatever it was, and yet you put a Facebook post on the official group for it with an issue that you have, bearing in mind you spent all that money. So mine was Side Pocket, for example, and then they just don't authorise the post. So I thought that wasn't the best. That could have been handled better. But yeah, ends on a positive. It was a brilliant idea. The cartridges, fantastic idea. Whoever thought of the numbering on the cartridge cases is a genius, because people are going to want to collect them. You don't want to have like 1, 3, 9. You want them in sequential order. So that, give them credit where credit's due. That's a brilliant idea. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it. And that's me biting my tongue.
See, I never picked one up. I joined the group because Ryan and Dorbs were talking about it at work quite a lot, and like everyone has already said, it's a cartridge based console or handheld console, which it immediately to me is like well, it speaks to me straight away. So there's something collectible there for you to tangibly pick up. I love physical media. I mean, you can see this isn't all my movies either. This is just the movies that we can fit in the background for me. I like physical media a lot. But I don't know. I joined the Facebook group and sort of was trying to get in on all the hype that everyone was getting at. But seeing people's stuff just not appear, like you've already said, people sort of having issues with the system, but it's not, they weren't allowing people to kind of voice that publicly. I think is a little bit weird for me. That's a red flag. As someone who wanted to buy the console and was kind of ready to part with some money, but not allowing people to sort of critique, well, not even critique the console, but just highlight an issue. And nowadays everyone uses Facebook and social media to voice their concerns of everything, because it's the quickest way to get to a company, because there's just it just is, people want their public profile to be a positive one. So I understand that aspect of what they may be trying to do, but in not allowing people to say, oh, I'm having these sorts of issues, I am a bit of a brand loyalist. Sorry, if I like something and and you get good customer service and it's a good quality product, I tend to stick with these things. And that not allowing people to voice a concern, for me as a game collector, is that was one of the reasons I didn't pick the system up. And I am quite glad that I didn't, just purely because of, I mean, when you compare the price point of an Evercade to the price point of an RG 35 1P, it's night and day. It really is. And I know that, again, the RG is an emulator. It's not got licensed games to go in it with a cartridge, but I got mine on a Black Friday deal. I think I paid £65 for my RG, which is like,
that's a bargain.
It is a bargain, and the build quality is fantastic. It feels great. My only critique of that versus something like the Evercade is the Evercade certainly looked like it had the right size. It maybe could have been a bit bigger, but it looked like when it was in your hand, it looked like it had a really good screen size, a really good, all the D-pad looked like it was half decent. The button press, everyone talks about the button press being really good as well, which is really important for a handheld. And versus the RG, that would be my only sort of complaint with the RG. Actually, is it's a little bit too small. But yeah, just for me, the red flag with the Evercade was just the not allowing people to voice their concerns. Or even recently, there was a chap on the official page, I think, who managed to get a comment up about something, and then they just deleted his comment and blocked him from the page. And you're like, oh, that's not really on. That shouldn't be how a company does business, especially a company that's looking to expand now into foreign countries and get your product even further afield. If you're going to do that, it's got to be a good product, and you've got to be willing to accept that there are problems.
Yeah, because going back to the size of the Evercade, that was more comfortable than the RG 351p, 100%.
Oh yeah, totally.
I sat there playing Old Towers with my 6-year-old daughter, and I don't know if any of you ever played Old Towers, but it's a great little sort of pick up and play retro game where you just move the little man from one part of the screen to a door, dodging things. But there's a skill to it, and there's a logic to it, and it's a really nice little game. And me and my 6-year-old daughter would sit there for hours playing that, and because the device was so comfortable. But the screen quality was never great. I played a game. It was a fighting game on Mega Cat Studio. I can't remember what it was called, like a Halloween fighting game, a bit like Punch Out.
Splatterhouse, was it?
No, not Splatterhouse. It was like a Punch Out game on the Mega Cat Studio. It was 8-bit. I can't remember what it was called. It was a really cool idea. And I was playing that for a few weeks and put a few hours into it, and then I saw a picture the other day of someone had plugged that into their telly and took a picture, and I thought, I've never seen those colours, because the screen, obviously in my Evercade, I didn't have it at the right angle. So for me, it was always like a dark game. and there was like blues and reds in this picture, and I thought I've never seen those colours.
Yeah.
Like
Never seen
Creepy
them.
Brawlers, was that it?
Creepy Brawlers, that's it, which is a great game. So again, stuff like Mega Cat Studios, to have them licensed is a positive. But then on the flip side, you've got Atari 2600 games, which, you know, there's no playability in those. Ollie will probably tell us that he's got a platinum edition of Atari 2600 in a minute, or Japanese version or something, but there's no playability in those games. I don't know, Ollie, if you've got a view on the Evercade, not being an owner.
No, well, I remember the hype message I got from you. You were like, "Oh, I'll have a look into it." So I looked into it, and I just looked at the games, and I just thought they were all crap. I'm not gonna lie. Didn't appeal to me at all. And then was looking. I had a look at the device. I didn't really think much of it. It didn't appeal to me personally at all. And I'm really happy I dodged a bullet. To be fair, like, yeah, there's just nothing there that appealed to me.
No, I think from a collector's point of view, yeah, the cartridges idea was brilliant, I thought, and I was so hyped to get a system with cartridges again. I thought this is, and we were in the midst of lockdown then. I know we are again now, but it was a lot worse back May last year because it was all new, wasn't it? And waiting for that delivery to come and thinking, I'm going to sit out in my garden in the sun and play my Evercade. And
didn't we wait?
See the screen.
We did wait.
I think that was also another sort of red flag, is I know that certainly I'd imagine Neil's probably the same, but I know Ben and Ryan had their pre-orders in like really early doors, and there were people who had purchased the console direct from them. I think, I don't know, the week of, if not the day of launch, and they were getting their systems before everybody else. So it's, again, that for me is almost another red flag, because it kind of shows that there's no order to the process. You know, if you pre-order, and again, it's really hard to not be too mean, because it is I'd imagine it is a very small group of people who have created this, and I'd imagine maybe they were just overwhelmed. They didn't think it would do quite as well in the pre-sales as it maybe did, which is a testament to what people, I guess, want. You know, we've said it so many times now. The cartridges, the licensed game, people will pay for that. And maybe it just all got a bit overwhelming, but you know, you'd still think you'd be able to kind of follow the order of orders as they've come in, and the people that have had it on order the longest should really get it first. But
but also don't forget, because like Ryan and I were waiting, and you as well, Neil, we were waiting for ages for ours, and yet they gave one away for free, from what I can imagine, to Ian Lee, who's like a radio DJ. He tweeted about it, and then suddenly next day or a few days later, he's got one showing it off for free, and I was just like, I've paid for that and I haven't got mine yet. What's that all about?
Yeah, stuff like that upsets consumers, doesn't it? Straight away, you're going to go into the product with a negative opinion of it.
Even just say to them, look, we'll give you one, but just wait a couple of weeks, wait till everyone's got their orders, and then post it. You know, it felt just like a bit of a slap in the face.
Yeah, definitely. And we've got a question here for you, Nintendo Lee, which I don't think you saw.
Would I rent the Evercade for the weekend? Is it £2 to rent it for the weekend with 50p a game? Like, I'll give it a go.
That's way too
much. Did I read it correctly? Haven't Interplay are they doing an Earthworm Jim sequel exclusively for the Evercade, or have I made that up?
No, it's for the Amico and Television.
There we go. That's what it is. I knew there was a link to a retro system somewhere. Okay, that's fine.
Neil, are you going to show us your Amico while you're there?
Pardon?
Are you going to show us your Amico while you're there?
I don't think anybody's getting Amico. Not this year.
And I'm sure everyone else here is the same. I would love a new console to launch and it to be really successful, and to be different to Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo. and that's why I really hope the Evercade was going to be a huge success for me, and it was something I could get on board with. But yeah,
I guess it's really difficult if you're going to create something. You've got to look at who you're creating it for and what do they want. And if you're going to go down that sort of physical media cartridge route, people will buy it. I mean, like we've said, like I think it was Ben that said, if you number the collections, people will want all of them.
Yeah.
So even if some of the collections are dreadful, people will pay for it because they want to have the complete collection. But in order for that to be
that's why we went for the all-in at the beginning.
Yeah, but I think if you're going to do that, you've got to have a system that genuinely people are happy with. And there is going to be teething problems with every system. The PS5 didn't evade. It was a perfect launch, but there are people that have had issues with the system. There are people that have had issues with the games. So no one, even the AAA people, they never have a system that is absolutely faultless, because it's just impossible. But to kind of brush over the faults and just pretend like they don't exist is not great. That for me is still no, it's not. And I'm sure there are people out there that have got it and have had no faults, and that's amazing. That's really great, and I really hope those people have a great time with the system and continue to enjoy the content that they're putting out, because there are some great collections out there for the system. But just for me personally, as someone who never picked it up, I'm probably not going to get one unless I'm sure I heard someone say recently there was going to be some sort of Evercade Pro or something. If they were to address some of the issues and make a decent console that worked fairly well, then that could be a different story.
I think they said they were working on an actual console, which the current cartridges will go into as well.
I'll tap out at that point. I'm afraid I'll just stick with the original hardware.
Yeah.
As someone that collects complete in box, there's no need for me to buy a system that would just have rehashes of things that I might already have, unless this is like such a contradiction. Unless it's Nintendo, they've only got to release Mario 64 on every fucking console they own, and I will pick it up. It's
Yeah. But the thing is, it's the promised arcade games as well of the Evercade. They still haven't got an arcade cartridge, and a lot of the cartridges are announced for this year. Worms, Codemasters, which has got Sensible Soccer on it. Not the best version of Sensible Soccer, but a version, cannon fodder. But then you've got Intellivision, Amico games from 1978 on a cartridge, and who is that appealing to? That to me is just a I don't know. It's like a lazy choice. It's not appealing to anyone, is it? I don't.
It's a very specific market. I think when you're going mid 80s, I think you are going to a very, very niche market, and that's not to knock people that really love Atari, really love Intellivision and ColecoVision and all of those really pre-Nintendo, basically pre-mid 80s video game consoles, because there's a lot of people out there that absolutely adore those systems, but it's a very specific market. Whereas if you were to release a system that played the NES back catalogue, well, that appeals to a lot of people, and it appeals to a lot of people purely because the games are more relatable, I guess. Like, you look at them and they don't look awful, they look charming, whereas you play something like Texas Chainsaw Massacre on the Atari 2600 and it doesn't look like what it's meant to look like.
That's why the NES Mini and the SNES Mini was such success when they released.
Yeah, real big hits. And the fact that Nintendo, even I think when you open up the NES Mini, it's even got a thing inside it that they were ready for people to basically pump it full of emulators. What does it say? Something like, please be careful, or please take care of me, or something. When you open it up, they were ready for people to kind of just attack the back catalogue and chuck it in there. Here's the 20 games that we recommend. but we know people are going to tinker with it, so they'd almost prepared for it, for that kind of thing. It's
Well, on that note, we have hit the hour mark, and we said we would keep these to an hour, so people watching them back. I think an hour is a good time to end it. It's been I think it's been a good evening chatting retro games, and I think we'll do this again maybe in a couple of weeks, and if everyone's happy to do that. And
definitely.
I know, is it Russell, the RG351P guy? Ollie, is it Russell? Ross?
Which Ollie are you talking to there?
Yeah,
There's got to
Ollie
be
done
the
Russ.
Yeah, he's joined our group now. I don't know if you invited.
Yeah, it's Russ from Retro Game Club.
Yeah, you invited him, didn't you? And
Also,
he's
there's another guy called Mashtech who's in it as well.
yeah. So we could get them on here in the future as well and chat to them, which I think will be really good to pick someone's brain like that about their thoughts on retro devices. And obviously he's got a huge following on YouTube, so it'll be nice to get him on here. But thanks to everyone this evening, and thanks to everyone for watching and commenting as well. Sorry, I love retro, we can't get to your question, which is how many consoles do each of you own in total, but I'll post it on the page shortly, and we'll all comment and let you know. So so thanks again for joining us tonight, and we'll see you soon.
nice one.
Cheers. Peace out.